everybody, lovely to be with you to share with you this flower arranging idea for Easter. Easter is fast approaching, and thought I'd get my head around doing something where it's something that you can easily do at home with whatever you've got to hand. And obviously we're into very much sort of upcycling, recycling and reusing things, so I've done that with that in mind as well. I'm starting off with a basket which I bought from our sales table at Flower Club, sort of container clear out. All our members brought in something that they didn't want any longer that somebody else might, and of course I saw this basket, lovely rustic texture woven basket with a liner in it, and I thought, well, I would just be putting in a block of Oasis and doing something in that, but in taking in the idea of not using too much floral foam these days, I sort of had a think about what I could do, and sort of looking around and thinking, what have I got? And I thought, I've got these pots that a probiotic drink comes in, a yoghurty drink, and you can get various makes of them, and I'm sure that you could equally use others as well, but these very handy in that the label, you just put a knife up and the label comes off without any sticky glue left behind. And I thought, right, well, I could use that, because you could cover it with some double-sided tape and perhaps put some leaves on, or some felt or some size or something like that, and equally hook some wire around and then hang that over a large branch if you've got that, and put some flowers or something in it like that. And I thought, actually, no, if I can use this basket, I could do something. I thought, what else am I going to do? I thought, right, how am I going to get the bottles to stay together? How can I disguise them a little bit? So I've used a cardboard roll, and that fits very handily inside that tube. So I've taken 9 of those bottles and the cardboard tubes and held them together with a rubber band, so that it sort of makes a container like that. So we've got the 9 tubes there, and it handily fits inside my basket, just with a little adjustment. Get those in there so they're all sitting square. I was thinking about what I wanted to do, and I thought, well, I just wanted something fairly simple, just with some branches from the garden and a few flowers from the supermarket or out of the garden if you're lucky enough to have lots of lovely things to use. And with Easter in mind, I thought, well, be able to hang some decorative bits and pieces from the branches. And my cornice needed pruning, the yellow barked dogwood. So I went out in the garden and I've cut some pieces of that to use, and they've got conveniently some very nice little offshoots. But of course I put in the cornice and I thought, this is no good because it's swinging from side to side, so I needed to use something to fix let the stem sort of rest into, so that it was much more steady. So out into the garage and had a look on my shelf to see what else that I could use. I had thought, well, maybe some damp moss might help if I squidged that into the tube. Something, maybe even some damp newspaper would work, but I thought, I've got these tops of varying sort of size stones and gravel and sand, and so I experimented. These ones, these stony little stones, they were no good because the stem continued to move. But I found that this chunky sand worked quite well, as did the finer sand. And so I put some of that into a couple of the tubes, and that did work very well because it sort of held the stem in place quite soundly. But then I came across these, which I'd forgotten about, little pearly, they're pearl raindrop things, and they anyway, they worked. I have put some inside my pots, fortunately, rather than all those that are out on the floor in my conservatory. There, that's just the comedy act for you tonight. I found they've fitted in very well, and the cornice tube, the cornice stems as well, and so on we go. I've fastened a couple of test tubes to a couple of them, and just in case I'm just popping them in. I haven't put any water into the yogurt tube pots. They don't actually need water to sort of support the cornice. The cornice doesn't need water. If you add water, then the leaves will sprout, and at the moment I don't really want that happening, but equally it wouldn't be a problem. The sand would absorb it a little, but it would still deliver a water source to the cornice stems. I have fastened some acrylic test tubes to the stems, as you can see, perhaps, and these are very good because obviously they don't break as readily as or as nastily as a glass test tube, and they don't need covering because they are decorative as they are. But obviously if you haven't got any of those and you have orchid tubes or anthurium tubes, then you just need to cover those with a leaf, and then perhaps wrap a little raffia around or something like that, and then a paper covered wire, twist that onto it. The best way of putting the wire around the tube is to wind it round a couple of times and then twist the tube so that you're not doing the twisting with your fingers, but you're actually just making the tube work, and so then that will hold it well in place. And then I'm just going to put that one onto that centre stem, and you don't need to wind the wire around lots of times. Just a couple of twists should be enough for it to hold in place. There we go. And I was thinking, well, what else could I use apart from the test tubes? Could I use something else? And I was again thinking about recycling and reusing, and I thought, obviously Easter, you think immediately of eggs, so I thought, right, I will, next time I'm making scrambled egg or something like that, I'll slice the tops off my eggs very carefully so I'm left with a reasonable receptacle of so that I can save the eggshell for this design. And I thought, well, how am I going to fasten those eggs to the cornice stems? I could, use a hot glue gun and perhaps put a little wire on there. And then I thought I've got these little pegs, and I could then peg those on. Let's find a suitable place. It did work when I practiced. So there we are, one egg in place. And I found at the supermarket that the white eggs are actually cheaper than the brown eggs. I don't know whether anybody else has that at their supermarket. It seems a bit odd to me that you're paying an extra 60p or something just to have a brown eggshell, but there we go. But I must admit, the brown is lovely, isn't it? It's the best. Oops, I haven't got that one quite right. That's better. These have got enmeshed together. They want to get closer. So I've got my corner stems in place, and my tubes and my eggshells. Now, I thought I could use some lovely gerbera, lovely bright coloured gerberas that I've seen in my supermarket, and I thought I'd just pick out some of the. I bought a mixed bunch of different colours, and I thought the orange, the yellow, those colours are really Eastery to my mind. So I've cut them very short, which is just one of those things. They say that they grow flowers with the length of stem that they have, so that you've got the choice of whether you cut them short or leave them the length. Certainly, like when they're selling roses, you sort of feel quite bad when you're cutting off this growth of flower. Lovely bright yellow there. But just working around, adding in this lovely touch of sunniness. I should put some more gerberas in a moment, but I also wanted to change the form, because obviously the Germini is a very daisy form, isn't it, and starburst, and I wanted something that was more pointy and tight. So I've picked tulip, of course, and that's very much sort of an egg shape, if you think about the flower. And sort of at this time of, obviously for Easter, you want something that is reflecting of that. So I'm just going to take some of the tulips, cut them quite short, and pop them in the tubes. I'm going to leave the leaf on a couple of them, because I think that it's sort of it's attractive, just adds a little extra texture and form there. Let's put that one up there. And put another Gemini up the top. Slightly longer Gemini down there. It can be quite random, obviously, with the colours that you choose. And then one of the lovely, gorgeous marmalade centres. Look at that gorgeous, intricate sort of petalling. Nature's very clever, isn't it, I always think. Quite random, and you can add in as many eggshells and test tubes as you like, as you've got flowers. So I just want to bring down the tulip again down there. Of course, the tulip will continue to grow when it's in the water. So it's just its way. Move. Of course, with the eggs being in there, just clipped on, you can move them as you see fit. If you have any breakages, that one's not going to stay. It's fine enough. Let's use that one. Squeaky turntable, I do apologise. And then in a couple of the tubes in the at the base, I've got some spaces, so I thought, well, I can use those tubes filled with water and just bring the flower down to that level as well. for the gerberas as well, just bringing the colour down so that it's something nice to look at. And at the base, I'm going to just cover my mechanics with some leaves, and I've got some of the rubus tricolor, lovely glossy leaf, and at the moment some of the leaves are quite large, where they're putting out their new growth. And I just thought, well, I'll just take the leaves off the main stem, and the stem, I'm sure you know, is although it looks prickly, it's actually quite soft and furry. So I thought I'd use some of those leaves just around the base. You could use any other large leaf that you fancied. You could use some ivy leaves, perhaps some begonia leaves, Fat's hedgerow leaves would be good, or if you've got Aera metallicum pictum in your garden, and that's all sort of beginning to grow away now, and just to add some lovely interest to your design, and just calm as well, because obviously this is quite busy and hectic with all the colours going on, so it's quite nice to have something sort of fairly large and shiny, just so that it sort of rests your eye from the busyness of all the floral decoration up above. And down. You could use little pieces of moss or sisal just to cover up any of the other areas where you feel that it's the tubes or the mechanics are too visible, just to fill in where you're not happy about what you can see. And then you can add in more decorations. You could perhaps have some little Easter eggs, little foil covered Easter eggs with, you could just stick a little thread on them and hang those on, so that everybody's got an egg to take from the tree, or perhaps some Ferrero Rocher or something like that, whatever. I've got some eggs here, but I feel that I've got sort of perhaps enough on here, but let's put them there just to see. I've got a lovely little one here that's got Easter chicks on, ready for Easter. I'm sure that the grandchildren would love to see that one on the tree. And you have to think about scale, because I think that I've got, because of the eggs being the size they are, that these eggs a little bit too large, so I want something a little bit smaller, so that sort of scale and proportion is better. And I've got one that's a blue, so it's going to stand out a little, but it's just you can see sort of colour balance and so on, that how important it is to think about your colour and tints and tones and so on. So once you've trimmed all your leaves off your rubus, and of course you can still use the stem, you can use that to bind up and make a wreath, almost sort of several strips of it all wound round together, and that could then form the basis of an Easter ring as well, or you could put it round your container. If you had a container that was round, it would make a very nice sort of collar or base to it. So all I can say is that it's been lovely sharing this idea with you, and have fun making your own version of it or whatever you, and just think laterally about what you can do with some of the things that we'd normally throw away. So sort of an upcycled, recycled Easter time. I've just got one little chap here who wants to come along and wish you. He'll probably fall off and join the beads. But anyway, the Easter Bunny's there to sort of wish you a very happy Easter and hope to see you soon. Thank you.